بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ما بعد. The next incident of Dajjal, and you will also find this hadith in Sahih Muslim, is the famous narration that might seem to indicate that Dajjal is alive and healthy as we speak, and that he is chained up in some exotic island. This hadith is the famous hadith of Fatima binti Qais, one of the famous sahabiyat. She narrates, and this hadith is in Sahih Muslim, that one day we were sitting in our house when we heard the crier running through the city saying, As-salatu jami'a, as-salatu jami'a. As-salatu jami'a is how the Prophet ﷺ would call the Sahaba to the masjid when there was an issue other than the 5 salawats. Fatima says, I rushed to the masjid to see what was happening, and I prayed with the Prophet ﷺ, and I was in the first line of the women, right behind the men. In her eagerness to hear what the Prophet ﷺ would say, she was in the first saf of the women behind the men. Point she's trying to say is, I heard directly everything that I'm about to tell you. So after we finished praying, the Prophet ﷺ went on the mimbar and sat down. And he said, let everybody remain where he is. Nobody move. Do you know why I called you? They said, Allah and His Messenger know best. He said, I did not call you today to give you an advice or a lecture, but rather I came to tell you what Tamim Ad-Daari came to inform me. Tamim Ad-Daari was one of the few Sahabi who was a Christian and then embraced Islam. The majority of Sahaba were pagans. Very, very few were Jewish or Christian when they embraced Islam. Very few. And of them is Tamim Ad-Daari. And so Tamim Ad-Daari came to me embracing Islam. And he told me a story that happened to him many, many years ago. Tamim Ad-Daari says when he was a younger man that he was in a ship of around 30 people from the tribe of Judham and Lukham. These are Christian Arab tribes up north, and he was from those tribes. And once a very severe storm came in the ocean, and for 30 days they were lost at sea. After there were 30 days, they were lost at sea. They had no clue where they were until they came to a faraway, ocean that they could not recognize, and they saw an island in the distance. So some of them, Tamim Ad-Daari and a few of them, took the smaller boat to go get some water, to go get some food. So every large boat has that small boat to go in. So they took that smaller boat to go to that island, and when they landed on that island, they met a very terrifying animal, a beast that could speak to them, a dabba that could speak to them. Although the hadith did not describe him, it simply says a beast that's very hairy, just nothing but hair, and could speak. And Tamim saw this and his people, and they were terrified. And the beast said, come with me. I'm going to take you to my owner or my master. And they went to this cave where they saw a man larger than any man they have ever seen. And the man was tied up in a more severe manner than any man they have ever seen. And the man then began to ask a number of questions. And it goes like, 10 questions or so. I'm not going to go into all of them. And they were so terrified, they just responded one after the other. And until in the end, the last question was, of the questions, the Tabariya sea, is it still there? This well, is it giving water? This land, is it still cultivated? And they answered yes, yes, yes. And always the answer was, a time will come when there shall be no water in that lake. A time will come when this well will be dry. A time will come when this land that you consider to be very beautiful and green will be completely barren. So he's giving predictions in the future. Then he says, that has the Ummi Prophet been sent amongst the Arabs? And Tamim Ad-Daari at this time was a Christian, but he was an Arab. He knows the Prophet has come. So he says, yes, he has been sent. And he has come out from Mecca, and he has settled in Yathrib, because he didn't call it Medina, because only Muslims called it Medina. The Dajjal says, did the Arabs fight him? They say, yes. So he says, who won? They say, sometimes he wins and sometimes the Arabs wins, meaning the Uhud. Uhud, they say, was a loss, even though Uhud was not a loss. From our perspective, Uhud was a stalemate. It was not a loss, but the Quraysh interpreted it as a loss. Dajjal then said, if there is good in the Arabs, they should follow him, and I will tell you about me. I am the Masih, and it is only a matter of time before I am let loose. And when I am let loose, I shall visit every single city on earth in 40 days, except for Mecca and Medina, for they are made haram for me. Every time I come to them, the angels will stop me. Then the Prophet ﷺ stopped his lecture and he began poking on the mimbar. And he said, this is Tiba, this is Tiba, this is Tiba. Did I not tell you about the Dajjal? And they said, yes, you did. Now this hadith ends over here. Now, this hadith is the famous hadith of Tamim Ad-Daari, narrated by one Sahabiya, Fatima binti Qais. And it is in Sahih Muslim, and its chain appears to be authentic. Now, this hadith has caused a lot of controversy in the ummah. Why and how? Because it throws a spanner in what we seem to know about the Dajjal. Other traditions mention that the Dajjal will come towards the end of times. They mention he shall be born to parents who were childless for many, many years, and they're making dua for a child, and they shall be given a child, and they will not recognize that it is the Dajjal. Whereas this hadith seems to throw all of that to the wind. And that Dajjal is alive and healthy, he's tied up, he knows he's the Dajjal, etc., etc. But mainstream interpretation, Imam al-Nawawi, Ibn Kathir, these scholars, they consider this to be authentic because this is Sahih Muslim. Then the issue comes, how do you reconcile this with the other ahadith about the coming of Dajjal, shall be born at a later time, his parents shall be childless, etc., etc. And you have one of two opinions. The first of them is that time and space mean nothing to Allah, and so Tamim Ad-Daari got lost in a different time warp. And so they traveled to a different time and place, and Allah is ala kulli shayin qadir. And they saw an image of Dajjal projected from the future back to their time frame. And Allah ala kulli shayin qadir. Okay, fair enough. And the other interpretation is that Dajjal is in fact alive and healthy, and that he was born, and all of this happened in the past, and then he is being chained and kept, as the hadith of Tamim says, and he shall be released in the future. Now the issue comes, the only hadith that mentions alive and healthy and chains is this one hadith of Tamim Ad-Daari. That's it. Every other hadith gives a different narrative. So you have two different narratives. Can we reconcile the two? Most scholars try to do that, but it's a very difficult fit. We now move on to what do the rest of the ahadith mention about the Dajjal. Of the things that are mentioned in authentic ahadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, every single Rasul has warned his ummah about Dajjal from the time of Nuh alayhi salam. And I too shall warn you about the Dajjal. Now, this is actually very interesting for us as Muslims. Why? The Prophet ﷺ is saying the concept of Dajjal is found in all previous traditions. And guess what? We find it very clearly in the Christian tradition. As for the Jewish tradition, it appears that they don't really have this concept of the false Jesus. But believe it or not, some sects of the Jews have the concept of the false David, Hajibullah, the false Dawood. And Allah knows best, but it appears to be that because they took David as their main figure, and the folklore remains about the false one coming, so they took their main figure, David, and they made a contrary figure of him. There shall be a false king David. By the way, the vast majority of modern Jews, they have abandoned these types of tales. As for mainstream Christians, Baptist Christians, evangelical Christians, most mainline Protestant Christians, they firmly believe in the figure of the Antichrist. They call him the Antichrist. And they believe in this thing called the beast. And they say the symbol of the beast is 666. So these are interesting for us as Muslims. Now, you have two ways of looking at it. If you're a complete secular atheist who doesn't believe in God and whatnot, you say, oh, look at these religions, their folklore is the same. Their mythology is the same. The Antichrist, 666, the beast, whatnot. Or you can flip it around exactly and say, the very fact that two different civilizations and two different faith traditions that have no causal relationship with one another are saying the exact same thing means there must be a common origin, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.